out there in internet land, my name is Tim and welcome to Red Band Review. So continuing the theme of 31 Days of Horror, for the entire month of October, I figured I would chime in with one of my personal favorite horror movies. In many ways, it's the movie I feel that inspired and corrupted me the most. 1968's cult classic, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead, the dead who live on living flesh, the dead whose haunted souls hunt the living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Night of the living dead. A bizarre adventure in fear. An experience in shock, more shattering than your strangest nightmare. Night of the living dead. A night with the dead who cannot die. A night of total terror. Night of the living dead.
The story begins in a graveyard in rural Pennsylvania, where we meet up with brother and sister Johnny and Barbara as they make their annual visit to their father's grave. While at the graveyard, Barbara is suddenly attacked by a strange man. That is when Johnny goes to defend his sister and is pushed into a headstone and is rendered unconscious. Barbara then escapes to her car, gets in, it will not start. With the stranger pursuing her, she then puts it in neutral and rolls down the hill into a tree. When it crashes into the tree, she escapes on foot with the stranger in tow. That is when she comes across a farmhouse. And when reaching the farmhouse, there are more of these strange figures, just like the cemetery, that are after her. And that is when we meet Ben. And Ben takes her into the house. Ben seems to be a very good leader and is on top of the situation, and most importantly, he is calm, and he begins barricading the doors and the windows. Ben and Barbara are unaware that the farmhouse has a cellar, housing an angry married couple, Harry and Helen Cooper, along with their daughter, Karen. They sought refuge after a group of the same monsters overturned their car. Tom and Judy, a teenage couple, arrived after hearing an emergency broadcast about a series of brutal murders. Radio reports explain that a wave of mass murder is sweeping across the eastern United States. Ben then finds a television in which they all watch the emergency broadcast report that the recently deceased have become reanimated and are consuming the flesh of the living. Experts, scientists, and the U.S. military fail to find a reason behind the whole outbreak, though one scientist suspects that radioactive contamination might be the cause. But that's one of the beauties of this movie, is you never know the actual cause of what brought these zombies, these reanimated corpses, the living dead back to life. And One of my favorite things about this film is, even though it is sweeping across the eastern United States, which would eventually completely take over North America and then the world, is how closed off you feel being trapped in this farmhouse with this group. Even though this is a worldwide thing, it's very, very, very sheltered and claustrophobic, and I think that's what made this movie work on so many levels, and how it's endured the test of time. The special effects were pretty simple due to the fact that this entire film was shot on a $114,000 budget. The blood was chocolate syrup, and the entrails and the flesh were all donated by one of the actors that owned a butcher shop, and the majority of the flesh that they ate was just ham covered in chocolate. This is easily the most successful independent film ever made. It was shot, like I said, on a $114,000 budget and grossed $12 million domestically and $18 million internationally. It was just the right amount of scary and suspenseful. It was well written, well acted. In my opinion, for an independent movie, it is one of the best independent movies that has been made, if not one of the best horror films that have been made. So I think I'm going to rate this movie a 4.5 out of 5 Garys. It is one of my all-time favorite movies, one of my all-time favorite zombie movies, and one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It's a near perfect movie for me, and it will continue to be one of my favorites until I die and then raise back up as a reanimated corpse. So those are my thoughts on 1968's George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. If you haven't seen this movie, hopefully my review has convinced you, because you really need to see it. It is the movie that started what we know now as zombies. It is so good. Like, I don't even know how to, I don't know. And after you're done checking that out, make sure you check out the rest of our videos. We have quite a few of them, and we are going to keep making them because we love to do them. And while you are still on the internets, make sure to jump over to our official store, www.society6.com/misunderstood our company. It is the official home of Geeks Speak Apparel and Dead Girl Superstar. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.